What is up, bros? Me Josh here. In today's video, we're going over the kind of new New Orleans, now at Tier 7. Basically, it's the same ship that was at Tier 8, moved down. It's given up its radar abilities, but still is the same great ship that was at Tier 8. This is a ship that a lot of people haven't liked over time. They haven't quite figured out how to play it because there is a unique play style to this ship. Of course, Tier 8 matchmaking is its own little beast, but arguably the best matchmaking in this game, away from the super low tiers, is Tier 7. So how does the New Orleans do at Tier 7? I think it does really well. Tier 7 is a very competitive tier for level of cruisers. This has been a tier that we've played ranked battles in, so of course it's going to go against some pretty big competition. But along the lines of the Abruzzi, which I think is relatively decent at this tier now, the Myoko, which is a tried and true ship, the Shores, the Fiji, the Indy, of course with the Atlanta and the Flint, the Algeria, of course the Belfast. There's a lot of really good ships, but how does the New Orleans compare to that? Well, the New Orleans is going to be the one of the few that has 203s, along with the Myoko, the York, the Algeria has 203s, question mark. The Algeria has 203s. This is, and of course the Indianapolis is the premium. This is a pretty competitive tier, but 203s give you that extra advantage. Now the New Orleans, again, if we dive into all the rest of the stats, still has a pretty good concealment of 10.6, relatively competitive for this tier. And again, moving down from Tier 8 to Tier 7, I think it gets a really good matchmaking. It has a pretty decent health pool with 35k. You're not going to be quite like the, not quite like the Myoko, which is kind of a tank, but similar to the Shores and the Fiji. Of course, the Fiji is going to have its heals. And the bread there with the Belfast. So 35k with the Belfast, and you're going to have 35k with the New Orleans. But the New Orleans does have a bit of an armor if you do tank it correctly with the plating if you are angled right, but still not too much more. 19 millimeters on the side, so if you are angled, but that front end is going to be a little light, but still. What does this thing bring to the table? Brings big USN 203s, 9 of them to be exact, on a 13-second reload. And those things are going to absolutely blop anything that gives you any kind of angle. I think this is a ship that's been very underrated for a long time, even at Tier 8. So what are you doing? You're bringing it against more fragile ships with this Tier 7. Going against stuff like the Atlanta, stuff like the Flint, stuff like the Fiji, the Belfast, if you're going to receive the Belfast. And then a lot of ships that are going to be even lower, especially like the Tier 6s, which you normally wouldn't see with the Tier 8. Not saying you wouldn't ever see them, but this thing's guns are great, and I think it's been very underrated for a long time. Now, you do give up the radar being at Tier 7, but you're still very viable with even this playstyle maps. This thing works a lot better in the lower tier maps that you're going to see more often compared to the higher tier maps. Because what this does is it's kind of a island hugging ship. Really going to be using cover a lot more than you would with a lot of other stuff. As you get into the higher tier maps, the maps get more and more spread apart, so you kind of have to extend yourself out in certain situations. Now with the lower tier maps, they are closer, they're smaller, and there's a lot more cover in these smaller areas, which will make this thing just thrive, in my opinion. Still, great AA on this ship. You're going to be clicking planes out of the sky. 6 kilometers with an AFT captain as well. Again, I'll show you the upgrades I'm running on this. Main armament mod 1, damage control system mod 1, AA range, and then the steering gears. Then, of course, we're running full upgraded on everything there. And then for my captain, I'm running the AFT range, but just a normal 14-point cruiser captain. I think this is a very basic cruiser captain build right here. And I think one of the main things on this ship is the HE is really underrated. 16% fire chance on 9 shells of 203s. You're going to be lighting a lot more fires than you think, but don't forget about that AP, because you will absolutely punish battleships, especially punish cruisers. And you can even maybe smack a destroyer once in a while for a relatively big salvo. So the New Orleans at Tier 7, how's it going to do? I'm liking it so far. Let's jump into some gameplay, and I'll show you guys what this thing is capable of. So here we are in game with the New Orleans, again at Tier 7. It's new tier since the 7.5 patch, and we're getting Estuary. This map is a god tier map for any of the USN cruisers. 1, because there's a lot of islands. 2, there's a lot of cover. That's the same thing, me, Josh. Why do you say that? I don't know. And 3, you get a lot of islands you can shoot over while shooting blind. These kind of islands are perfect for the USN cruisers. What you basically will do is you'll be able to shoot over them because of your trajectory, as well as hiding your line of sight from anything that's in range. And with your range not being crazy high, like Shores level with 17, 18 kilometers, with it being around 15.6, 15.7, you can be a little more aggressive with your angling by watching openings here, here, and then here. So that's what I'm kind of looking for right here. But me, I am going to try to post up on these islands and do as much work as possible. This island, of course, is better than this one, but since they're spawning there, potentially they would be in range. They have 3 destroyers, so that's something to keep in mind. And I'm really trying to post it right here and use this island, but I have to be careful because I could get spotted here, could get spotted off to my left. But again, big ship with 203s, and I feel like, again, I'm gonna say I feel like the New Orleans was a ship that was very underrated for a long time. I enjoy this ship a lot, and I enjoyed it at tier 8. People always ask me, Josh, how do you play this ship? And it's just, you play it. It's a strong, you know, as dumb as that sounds, you just play it. And what do? You use cover like the USN ship would, and you just absolutely shred. These guns are crazy good, and I don't think a lot of people realize really how strong they were. You know, the AP on this ship, and a skill that's very, very good on this, and of course, I've been seeing more and more Cyclones since the 7.5. Have you guys been seeing more Cyclones since 7.5? Let me know in the comments below. Maybe I was just getting unlucky. But what something that's extremely good is expert loader. With this type of ship, you will be switching a lot back and forth. Anytime there's a broadside cruiser, that will basically pay for itself, being what it is, a 1-point captain point, because you'll be switching shells so much from AP to HE, AP to HE, depending on what is around you and what is angled. So again, we're right here. That DD kind of caught us off guard a little bit. I was hoping I could kind of farm a bit more, but we're going to start working on that DD if he's spotted again, but especially these cruisers sailing broadside. That's easy money for this type of ship. These 203s on a decently good reload time, that's money, easy money. So again, we're going to try to pump in as much damage on these cruisers and just use this ship and use these guns. The Algeria, we'll see what we can do. A little undershot right there. That's on me. I thought actually that looked pretty good. I now know why, but this is what we're looking for right here. And this ship, again, I knew I'm safe from these torps. I'd be way more spotted in only 10-kilometer range. But boom, that is the AP that this New Orleans can have. And again, that's it's a ship. It's a map you could get with a tier 8 ship, but it's a map you're going to get more being a tier 7 ship, if you catch my drift. It's going to be more in the rotation, and it's going to be more of a normal, if you would, map when it comes to this type of matchmaking. So again, I feel like a lot of these switches were really, really good. I'm happy, and I think these ships are going to be more fun to play with this new type of matchmaking. Pensacola at 6, New Orleans at 7. You know, these are great ships anyways, but I think they're better in their new quote-unquote homes of these new tiers. So again, we're looking for anything. Broadside's pretty crazy, but one thing that's, I mean, you're gonna hear me talking about the AP all the time, but the HE on these ships are very underrated and very good as well. And of course, they're gonna have high alpha damage. So a nice almost 2500 salvo with the fire. We'll take that in Nagato, and we're trying to keep an eye on where all the destroyers and everything is. Now, this isn't gonna be a crazy damage game. Look, I hit 250,000 8-kill game, but this was a really short game, and it's a really potent game for this ship, and it's going to kind of just show what this ship can do when it's given the right situations and kind of just potential. Now, I'm not going to break any damage records. I'm not going to even have my highest damage in this game, but this was the perfect example of what you're going to see more and more because of this lower tier. You know, going against a Duca and a you know, a Badyani. It's not that it doesn't happen that much, but it's going to happen more now, right? It's more of looking at what you're going to be going against more and what your strengths are. What are your strengths? Throwing really, really big shells out. And what's going to make that look really good is cruisers with lackluster armor, which is going to be the lower and lower tiers. You know, as you get into the higher tiers, if something's broadside, yeah, you can still smash it with 203s, but you're going to get, you know, like a Pensacola sitting broadside like this is going to happen a lot more at lower tiers, right, than if you were still in that tier 8 matchmaking. Now the Pensacola being one of the moves. But this is just easy farm. You know, if you get into a good spot, this is going to happen more and more. And since they're on smaller maps, you could then get into a better spot to be able to cover more distance on the map, right? I mean, he's about a third of the way across the map. I got a little unlucky there, in my opinion, on that salvo. But it's just, you can get across a third of the map, and that's not something that's going to happen a lot on the higher tier maps that you're going to tend to have in tier 8 matchmaking. So, boom, another Citadel. Already we're 4 Citadels in, and this is what I'm talking about right here. AP at an angled in Badiani, and this is why I'm liking this ship at that. Boom, another Citadel at that angle. So, have fun out there with this ship. It's going to do absolute work. It's going to be a fun ship. Remember that you can't just go in. I've seen a lot of people going in a 4200 salvo on a angled out Nagato just on the superstructure. That is what this ship can do, and I'm loving it right now. So, I mean, in 7 minutes we're at 64k, and we haven't really taken any damage, and we're just kind of busting it down, and we're going to start getting into a pretty good spot to just farm out some more damage as we go. Boom. Our Ashitaka, which I think is a pretty underwhelming ship, is premium battleship, is doing some work. We'll continue to keep rocking out and throwing that USN AP towards that Nagato. And since it is, I would say probably the biggest downfall is, of course, you lose the radar. Boom, another 4K. We'll take that kill. Losing and this Duca, side note, this Duca is so lucky he threw on the brakes, because look at that dispersion. That's probably a 4 Citadel shot if he doesn't slow down. So we got unlucky. And what do? Shoot at the Atlanta, or do I shoot at the Bowen Pensacola? So we're just gonna angle away, use our armor to our advantage, and start working in. Of course, somehow an Atlanta breaks two shells from 203, but he's gonna help us out right here and feed us a couple more. We got a feeder right here, a couple more salvos. I didn't want to get too aggressive on this. There's another one, 7K, and again, I'm liking this ship. I liked it already, but I'm liking it a lot more at this tier. I think it's going to be a great ship. If you guys haven't really pushed down this line with the new light, I mean, of course, the new kind of light cruisers or whatever everyone's buzzing about, and they're going to hopefully be out relatively soon. What we're really excited about is, or I'm excited about, is where these new ships are. It may not seem like something that's crazy of, hey, if we move this ship to a different tier, it's basically buffing the ship. It's you know, people are always like, I want to rate of fire, I want more health, I want to heal, all types of stuff like that. It's really shows how, I guess, kind of underpowered this ship was at that tier, and how strong it could be against weaker ships. Again, this is a relatively fast game. It's not going to be crazy damage, but New Orleans at tier 7, I'm really liking it. That's a relatively cool camo, and I'm hoping you guys are as well. Let me know in the comments below how you guys are liking the ships at the new tiers. Tier 7, of course, was the Pensacola. Pensacola got moved down to 6. New Orleans is at 7. And instead of 8, so basically it's almost the same ship, but you are giving up radar. I think you end up giving up a little bit of health too, and maybe a little bit of armor. I'm not 100% positive off the top of my head. But all in all, it's new helm. I think it's really good, and a guy in game is very mad at something. But hey, that's warships. What are you gonna do? But we're gonna push in right here. I do miss radar on this ship, but I just don't think it's gonna matter. With how much smaller the maps are, your max only going against 9s, which is nice. You're not going to be that New Orleans that gets blopped off the map by a Montana Yamato, even though you are going to go into Musashi, which is its own thing, the tier 9 Yamato, but still, I think the ship's going to do very well at tier 7. I'm very interested to see how this ship will do if there is another tier 7 rank season. This thing is going to be able to really hurt some and down goes our Z39. Feels bad. This ship is going to do some work. I could see this being a successful ship in a ranked season. Now, it has some strengths that the Shores kind of has in the Belfast, but there we go, bros. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. New Orleans at 7. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about the New Orleans at tier 7 compared to where it was at tier 8. And I'm kind of interested. I'm liking it a lot. But anyways, guys, that's it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.